OU, Texas. The game is set. 11 a.m. down in Dallas. Texas leads the all-time series 60 wins, 52 losses, 5 ties. That's where we stand. But OU has won the last 4 meetings, including the last 3 in the Cotton Bowl. So OU's on a hot streak right now, riding high. This is the first time since 1998 that neither team is ranked coming into the matchup. Thought that was an interesting little tidbit
That's
there.
Something
crazy.
related to that.
Yeah.
And we're the only Big 12 matchup that is still on full nationwide TV.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, there's a lot of Big 12 fans taking victory laps right now with OU and Texas struggling.
Oh yeah.
I have some OSU friends who talk a lot of noise right now, and I had to make sure that they knew that our worst year is your average. So I need you to settle down.
Well, I think
This is
what's
an
so
aberration.
funny, I think what's so funny about like all this chatter, and we haven't been bad in a really long time. So people are just, taking their hits while they can. And like, I understand that. At the same time, I'm seeing like tweets that are like, oh yeah, OU and Texas bring no value to the Big 12. Like, get out of here. Go to the SEC. We'll be just fine. Like, do you understand what the word value means? Like,
No.
do you get that? Like, it's not necessarily about like your win-lose, record, right?
Yeah.
It's more about how many eyeballs are watching you on TV. How big is your brand? How well known are you?
It doesn't hurt that we usually do have more wins.
That's true. And this is the one year that we really don't. But, they can continue to talk shit all they want. But we're going to be making a shit ton of money in the SEC. And I still believe in this coaching staff to get us there and to be successful in that conference.
Okay, before we go into the offensive and defensive breakdown, I want to do something real quick. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being we're going to dominate, win easy, 1 being we're going to get our butts kicked. Where are you at on the scale heading into this game, Patrick?
3.
Okay, Matt.
I'm going to be down the middle. I feel like every time this game comes to play, no matter who's ranked, who's a better team, who's favored, who's not, I think it's just a neutral playing field. So I think it's being a close game, but 5 has got to be where I'd be, right down the middle.
Mark.
4.
Ryan.
3. Too many injuries.
Yeah, I'm at a 4. I feel less confident than I ever have in a long time, and it's not a good feeling. But we'll break down the game. Let's start with the OU offense against the Texas defense, guys. Okay, OU offense, like we said, we don't know who's going to play quarterback. We may know by Friday. I don't know, but as of now, Dylan Gabriel is still recovering from a concussion. He's in concussion protocol, whatever that means for OU. Gabe Eichert said that I heard that OU is very, very conservative with their concussion protocol. They don't try to rush guys back out there very quickly. So me, for one, I'd be shocked if Dylan plays. So I think now is where we open the conversation up. Who do you want to play quarterback?
I genuinely have no idea.
I don't know either.
It's like we have really seen Davis Bevell play, and that was not great. And we know nothing about General Booty or Nick Evers. We have no idea.
Pat, get in there.
Yeah, here's where I'm at. Bevel didn't do a good enough job on Saturday. He did not prove to us that he can handle this game on Saturday. I think you put in Booty. Booty can also run. He's got legs. You need these rushing yards in this game. Bevel couldn't run and just wasn't good enough. I put in Booty.
Matt.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what Bevel did last week. He proved nothing, like Tyson said, but why bring in these guys like Nick Evers, like the JUCO transfer Booty, if you're not going to even give them a shot? I mean, no one played at all except for Bevel in that TCU game. Even in the fourth quarter, we were clearly going to lose the game. Didn't even give a shot for one of those guys just to take some reps.
Yeah, I thought
so that only tells me that they must be very far away from seeing the playing field. So I'm really interested. Obviously, we won't know who's taking reps or how many reps they're taking. But if DG can't go, there's a very significant drop-off between DG and the guys behind him. And, I mean, running back, who's going to play other than maybe Javonte Bartz if Marcus Major and Eric Gray can't go. So it's going to be a lot of unknowns going into this game. Will be interesting to see who suits up.
we're talking about quarterbacks right now. Is it a significant drop?
Yeah. Because it's knowledge of the
significantly.
offense.
Come
Because
on.
it's knowledge
Okay,
of the
come
offense.
So
I mean,
for
we've got the overthrows.
Hey,
but
I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah.
We've had some really bad
That's fair.
accuracy issues.
also, we'll see, right?
the
Like,
devil.
we haven't seen two of these people play. We have no idea.
For me, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. I don't know what I'm going to get out of Davis Bevel. I know what I'm going to get out of Dylan Gabriel, and it's a dude who's inaccurate, but he can at least hit a deep throw. So, like
25% of the time.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Who do I want? I lean towards Bevel just because I feel like if he got a full week of practice and wasn't thrust into that position after Dylan essentially getting knocked out cold and right in front of him, and they're like, hey, you're in the game, maybe a week of practice eases him into the offense a little better, eases him into the starting role a little better. I still don't feel good about it. I still don't think he gives us the best shot to win, but like that's where my head's at. I don't know. Mark, I don't think you went. Go ahead.
No, I haven't. So you guys know me. You know I've been a booty guy. I've eaten up every bit of booty since he's transferred to OU. I can't get enough booty.
No.
This week, though, Brent Venables had some really interesting and really complimentary quotes about Nick Evers, who we know has a live arm. We've seen that.
Yeah.
And in the spring, the mental aspect was the thing that seemed to be holding him back. If he's grasped the offense a little bit better, there wasn't a very complimentary quote about General Booty this week or about Davis Bevel. And I might be reading the tea leaves a little too much, but you don't bring a guy in who's number 9 in the country at the quarterback position if you don't think he has the talent to play for you. So I don't know. He's kind of frail, and I'm worried about him behind our offensive line. But maybe I'm becoming a Nick Evers guy, guys.
I'm kind of on the side. If we think Nick is going to be a starter next year, we throw him in this game. That's where I'm at.
Y'all don't think Dylan's the starter next year?
I think
no.
He is. I think Dylan starts when he gets healthy again.
I think Dylan has
Arnold coming in.
The last 2 games, Dylan's losing his spot right now. If he continues to play this way, he's losing his spot. That's what I'm saying.
If someone shows out, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if someone beats him for it, yeah, but it's his to lose.
Sure. But if Nick plays well next 3 games, if that's how long Dylan's out, then it's his to lose.
Yeah. Matt?
I was just going to say, this is where stars are born, right? We saw it with Caleb Williams last year after Spencer Rattler. We've seen DeMarco Murray. We've seen Adrian Peterson. These are where guys play their best games, and maybe it's for Evers or whoever the backup that comes in that can shine. I mean, this is the game, the most pivotal game of the year, no matter what the records are, like you said, Mason. Maybe you see Evers come out and shine. I mean, he's got wheels. He's got the arm talent. Is he mentally ready? I mean, what's the point of not throwing him in, especially if DG's not healthy? We've seen everything that's happened in the NFL with Tua and all that. So obviously we want to protect DG as much as possible. If he's not ready to go, if he hasn't cleared concussion protocol, throw in one of the young guys. I'd love to see Evers in there and see what he can do.
No matter who's at quarterback, the running game is also a massive part of this game, because if you win the rushing battle in this game, you win the game the majority of the time. I don't have the stats in front of me, but the
Bob
team that rushes
said it this week, 17 of 18 of the last 18 games. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
So no, if you run the ball better than the other team, you win the game. We saw how big the running game was last year with Kennedy Brooks. It was the lifeblood. Even with Caleb Williams coming in, Kennedy Brooks running the ball kept that team in that game last year. So whoever's back there, I hope Eric Gray's back. I hope Marcus Major's back, but we saw what we saw with Javonte Barnes last week. He's a dude who can carry the load. He can keep you in it. So I feel good at least about the running game. Texas has some dudes on the interior defensive line that's going to be tough to go in between the tackles. So you might have to see Barnes make some plays outside, and that means the receivers got to block some too. I don't know. You have to rely on the running game. How much yet? I'm not really sure. I'll know more when I know who the quarterback is.
Well, I mean, it's also going to depend on our offensive line, right? Our offensive line looked like poo-poo last week. So can we get it back together? Is Morris still hurt? I don't know. I don't think there's been like any information around.
They ain't gonna give us any
injuries. So we have no idea what we're going into. So I mean, like, in order for our run game to be good, our offensive line has to show up.
And they haven't so far. Mark, I know you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Well, no, I wonder if we see a continuation of the 2 tight end sets that we've seen because the offensive line is not getting it done. Maybe you go to some bigger bodies, leave Daniel Parker in to block a little bit more on passing downs, use him as an enforcer on rundowns. I don't really know because y'all correct me if I'm wrong if you see it differently, but in the last couple of games when we've done that, when we've gone 2 tight ends, we've still spread one of them out in different ways and not really used them more as a matchup problem than beef.
Yeah.
Hopefully we start using them as beef because the offensive line is not going to stand up to this Texas defensive line.
Matt, you're a guy who's a big Braden Willis guy. Mark kind of led me into this. I feel like this is a game, if you're going to win, Braden Willis has to be a dude. Because like you said, you made the point, Matt, this is where legends are made. You mentioned DeMarco Murray. You mentioned Caleb. I think Braden's one of those guys. This is his opportunity. He's a leader on this team. He's a guy who's a senior. Like, this is his last hurrah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Marvin Mims has to show up too. I mean, he's been the guy. We've talked about it all year. And we have a good receiving core. It's just going to come down to obviously who's playing in the backfield. Can the offensive line hold up against those guys? They got a senior linebacker in Overshone, who's probably an all Big 12 guy playing linebacker for Texas. It's going to be a lot. And it's just going to be really interesting to see how the offense, are they going to slow down? Or are they going to keep the tempo with the backup QBs? Or are they going to try to change the playbook a little bit, make it a little bit simpler? It's just going to be so hard to know until the offense takes the field and we see who actually is able to play.
Yeah. Pat, get in there.
I personally, and I think I would be saying this even if we were 5-0 right now, I want to see the offense slow down for this game and just be completely unpredictable and not play to how we've been playing, just to throw them for a loop. I think that's a good way to approach this game. And it also might be simpler for our guys going into this week.
We've said it from the beginning. The tempo doesn't work if you don't get positive yardage. So right. Patrick, I think Patrick's right. Like, slow it down and just start the game by getting first downs.
Right.
Like, let's just do that. Do the little things right first, and then you can get complex with the tempo. Then you can take your deep shots, all that stuff. Let's just get first downs first and foremost.
I also think time of possession matters a lot more in this game than other games too.
Why do you Jeff Lebby comes from the Art Briles coaching tree. We are not going to slow down.
Yeah.
I know, I understand, because I kind of agree. We need to be running the ball. We need to be taking the clock a little bit, but we're never going to slow down, I don't think. Our only hope is that we run the ball to do it and, take time off naturally that way.
I don't necessarily like, I'm so sorry.
No, you go. You go ahead. You go, because I was going to change.
Okay. Yeah. Like, on that same subject, I don't necessarily think we need to slow down. The main point here is that we are just, like you said, Mason, just not getting first downs. Like, we are not trying to get it. We're trying to get first downs. We're not succeeding in getting first downs, especially in our first 3 possessions of a game. And that puts us in a hole that we can't get out of. I mean, that is what has happened in the past 2 games, the exact same thing. So go ahead.
No, I thought you were done.
Go.
Jump in.
What I was going to say is, especially with whoever's at quarterback, watch for Braden Willis or Drake Stoops to be kind of an underneath safety valve for these guys. Dylan Gabriel's comfortable just letting it rip. Nick Evers is not going to be.
Right.
And he's probably going to be a little more cognizant of, oh God, where's the first down marker? I got to get this.
Yeah.
So,
throw it to Drake 15 times, please.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
We'll catch it.
Patrick predicted it. We need it.
I literally don't care how long the damn drive takes. Just keep getting first downs. Like, that's literally all I care about.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, I care about the points at the end of the game, at the end of the drive. But like right now, if what happened to us the last 2 weeks, where we just come get punched in the face again, and not able to recuperate, like we're going to lose this game by like 50 points, like we lost TCU. Like that is what is going to happen if we're not ready, especially with a backup QB who is inexperienced.
All right. Anything else on the offensive side before we move to defense?
I'm not sure what the last time we out physicaled Texas on the offensive side of the football was, and I don't know if it's going to happen this week, but we lose if it doesn't.
Yeah. By the way, that spread is up to Texas, a 9-point favorite. Mark, what did it start at?
Started at 3, and that might have been a look ahead line because I can't imagine anyone with Dylan Gabriel on the mend would have said 3. But yeah, we're up to, I saw 9.5 earlier. And if you give me one moment and someone else maybe fill a second, I can get us a new one.
I can fill a second real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
My dog Sawyer is here. Say hello, everybody. He came into the room and left the door open just a little bit, and now he can't get out. So he's like been like sitting in front of the door. So if you just see him hanging out, here he is.
He's stressed. He's stressed.
He's stressed because he's trapped.
All right. So moving on to the Texas offense against the OU defense. Like I said earlier, Quinn Ewers back after 3 weeks off. He's going to play. He makes that offense a whole lot better. You look at the offensive side of the ball for Texas, and they have the big names. They have Ewers. They have Xavier Worthy, who is arguably the best receiver in the Big 12. Arguably, I said, notice. And then, of course, Bijan Robinson, who I feel like has been there like 6 years. But he's like,
going to win the Heisman next year, dude.
Yeah, dude, that's a good point, Patrick. I feel like everybody's always trying to give him the Heisman. But that's who their offense is going to run through, like that's it. It's those 3 guys. And if you can contain those 3 guys, I feel like you have a really good shot at it. My biggest issue is I don't know who in the hell in OU secondary can run with Xavier Worthy or cover him for an entire game. No one.
I mean,
like no
we all thought our best corner was Woody Washington, right? Who gave up 3 PIs last week.
I mean, yeah, that's got to get. I mean, are we going to be able to clean that up in a week?
No.
I don't think
not
so.
in my opinion, you won't.
The PI specifically. The PI specifically.
I think you have to pull back on the playbook. I think that it's clear that they're playing too slow. It's clear that they're doing something too complicated for these guys. And you got to go back to what we were doing defensively, just more base shell stuff like we were doing early in the season. And if it doesn't work, then you get onto the guys for it not working. But we can't put our guys out of position because especially if Billy Bowman's not playing, and we haven't hit on that yet, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And we saw the chain break 3 times early last week. No reason to think Texas won't do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're watching that TCU tape like a hawk, and they're seeing where we break down, and they are going to exploit the exact same thing that TCU does, except they have more talent on their team to do it. So we have to know that going in. And I think another thing that is worrisome is the fact that, yeah, from what we've seen of Quinn in the Alabama game, he was really great. We don't have a lot of tape on him because he got hurt. Like, I don't know, like, how prepared our defense is going to be for him. After what Max Duggan did to us last week, I am extremely concerned about him coming in and just playing lights out against this defense.
Matt, what do you say? Sorry, Pat.
Yeah, I'm calling it the bend, don't break defense. I think we're going to give up a ton of yards. We clearly have the last few weeks. We're giving up almost 200 yards on the ground to opposing offenses. Bijan Robinson, arguably the best running back with Deuce Vaughn, our most dynamic player in the Big 12, if not the country. He's averaging almost 6 yards a carry. So he's going to get his yards. They're going to get chunk plays. I don't think we're going to stop them. I think we just have to, when we get down into the red zone defense, we have to hold them to field goals. We can't give up touchdowns like we did in the very beginning last, down 14, 20 points. This team is not equipped offensively to keep up with Texas's high-power offense. So if we get down early, I don't believe there's a chance we come back at all. So bend, no break. That's what I'm calling it. If we got to play shell defense, we got to give up yards, just tighten it up in the red zone, hold them to field goals. That's about the only chance I can see, especially with their explosive playmakers that they have. And I'm kind of glad that Ewers is playing. He's playing injured. He hasn't played since week 1. He's probably going to be a little bit rusty out there. He's not going to be used to it. It's a pivotal game. No one is used to that kind of atmosphere. I'm glad they're actually not riding the hot-handed card. He's actually played really well over the last few weeks. So maybe it's Ewers going in there a little bit nervous, a little bit scared. I don't think he will, but might be better off than the hot-handed card.
Pat?
I continue to flip-flop in my head if I have faith in this defense or not, because they did show us some great things the first 3 games. And Ted Roof and all the coaches continued to reiterate that the desire is there out of these players to win, to get better, to do the best that they possibly can. And then on the flip side of that, I'm like, wow, these guys have really played like they suck the past 2 weeks. And I continue to flip-flop. But if the desire is there in a huge game, one of the biggest games that some of these guys might ever play in, just like tactically throughout a season, how pivotal this game is. If the desire is there, I'm hoping that they play to their capabilities and show us what they showed us in games 1 through 3.
So think back to previous OU Texas games in the recent history. Let's call it the last 3 years in OU's wins. In those wins, what does all those OU defenses have in common? They weren't very good, number one, but that game against Texas was the game that they got pressure on Sam Ehlinger and made his life living hell. And that's how they won the game defensively, was by getting pressure on the quarterback all game long. You got to do that. You have to make Quinn Ewers uncomfortable from the jump. And I know that's a tall ask for a defense that's been completely lost. And quite frankly, a defensive line that hasn't gotten pressure for the last 2 weeks, what feels like 2.5 weeks at this point. But I'm putting it in front of you. That's what you've done in the past. That's won you this game. And that's what you got to do this time. You have to get pressure and get in the backfield, however you do it, whether it's blitzes or not. Because let's be real. Yeah, you could say, oh, the blitzes, you're going to leave your secondary open in man-to-man coverage. Well, they can't cover in zone either. We saw it last week. So just get some pressure back there. Dial up some blitzes, Ted Roof or Brent, whoever it is at this point, and let's figure it out. Yes, your secondary is not great. So give them a chance at maybe not having to cover as long by sending a lot of pressure, and do it early and often. That's what I think OU defense has to do to try to get a win.
I think you have to get there. I think you have to hit Quinn Ewers coming off of an injury. I think you have to put him in the grass as much as you can. Don't get a flag. Don't give up 15 yards for no reason. There's no that doesn't help us, but hit him as hard as you legally can. And if you might hit a shoulder, that's the game, baby. OU Texas.
Yeah.
One thing, and it's funny because it was Hudson Card distributing the ball at the time, but I'm looking at these stats for Texas, and Xavier Worthy's got 21 catches for 331 yards, but their second leading receiver has 21 catches for 257 yards. And the third leading receiver has 20 catches for 212 yards. So the offense largely just runs through 3 guys and their running backs, Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. Obviously, even catching the ball, they're dangerous guys. Man, I'm worried about this one. I really hope Billy Bowman plays.
Yeah, so do I.
We got to get pressure.
Yeah. Ryan?
I mean, no, I just like, to your point, Mason, around pressure. Like last week, we gave up, I forgot the number. How many long plays over 50 yards? Like 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there.
I think 7 sounds right.
Like 6 for touchdowns or something like that. Something ridiculous. Like this defense has already gotten beat downfield plenty of times. If we're going to get beat downfield, at least bring a blitz. Don't let the quarterback just sit there. Like, at least bring some kind of pressure. If you get picked apart, you get picked apart, but at least you're going for it at this point, and you're not just sitting back waiting on your heels and then getting burned. I think it's so important to be aggressive in this game. And I also think, like, I'm trying to take the mentality of, no expectations and just like go in and like spoil and just like, just go in and spoil things. Like everyone, all of these players have to be thinking on the defense. Okay, everyone thinks we suck. Everyone thinks we're terrible after these past 2 games. Like, what do we have to lose here? Let's just go for it. And I know me not being a coach, that's not really a game plan necessarily, but I think it's more just like a mentality that these guys need to have. And I don't know if they have it. So we'll find out on Saturday.
All right, they haven't had it for 2 weeks.
Nope.
I know. All right, let's do our segment. By the way, what are you looking for down below in the game from the offense and defense? Comment down below on our YouTube channel. Let us know. We read every comment, by the way. So, guys, let's talk about what we're looking for from this game. The one thing that we're going to watch for. I'll start. My key word for this game is comfort. Who can get comfortable and who can make the other team uncomfortable? We've been in that stadium. All of us have. What a unique environment it is. Split 50-50. When one crowd is fired up, the other one is completely dejected. You know what it feels like. Who can make the other team uncomfortable? Because if you make Quinn Ewers uncomfortable, that is going to help your defense exponentially so, because it is his first experience in that game. And yeah, you can say he's played in big environments before, and nobody played in an environment like OU Texas. It's unlike anything else you see in college football, split down the middle like that. So comfort is going to be massive. If OU can get up by a score, how do they respond with that? We haven't seen them up in a game literally since Nebraska. They have not held the lead since the Nebraska game. Let that sink in for a second. How do they handle that situation? So comfort for me is what I'm looking for. Patrick.
I was deciding between 2. But I know you said
pick one, buddy. Pick one, buddy.
Okay. I think someone else is going to say the other one. So I'm going to go with urgency. I feel like I don't see enough of the urgency just on both sides of the ball, right? And when the urgency is there, it's like not the right play call. It's not meshing. So that's what I'm going to go with. Urgency.
Mark.
Yeah, give me chaos. I think on defense, we need to create it. And on offense, we need to try and create it in our own way there. Be creative. If you've got a trick play, Jeff Levy, this is the week to break it out. Toss it deep to Marvin Mims, run the football, and do some trickeration. And hit Drake Stoops and Braden Willis underneath. But chaos. We got a backup quarterback. We need some of it.
Matt.
Yeah, I think it's got to be keeping the momentum and keeping the score low, especially early, because the first games or the first start of every single games, they just march down the field, they score, they get up by 2 scores. We can't let that happen. We've got to keep the momentum on our side, making big plays, bend don't break. Got to keep that score low going all the way to the 4th quarter if we want a chance.
Ryan, round it out.
Yeah, to me, the most important thing about this game is our offensive line. And I think it's because we are going to have a backup QB, most likely. Our run game has to be strong. It has to be. And in order for that to happen, our offensive line has to play better than it has the last 2 weeks. It has to, especially against the talent that this Texas team has. If they don't, we're going to get swamped.
I hate that you keep saying has to, because you're right, but it makes me sad because, like, if we don't do that, we're screwed.
We're at.
That's reality, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it is.
And they know that. The coaches know it. Like,
they do
have to.
Yeah. Braden Willis said on the podcast on the Prairie a couple of days ago, he was talking to Jeremiah Hall, and he said Braden Willis said he'd be damned if his legacy that he left was of a team that just sucked. He's like, that's just not what I'm about. And
but then we need to see that leadership come out. Like we need to see it.